Is this little thing the next level mosquito repeller, the tiny Repel from Flextail, or just another thing they want you to buy? And what is the difference between the popular Thermacell MR300 and the tiny Repel? And the most interesting question of them all, if you already own one of these, is it worth buying one of these? This and much more is what we're here to talk about during this episode about the next level mosquito repeller, or for short, the tiny Repel. Stay tuned for a very interesting episode. Before we dive into the specs and features, and before we get an answer to the question, is it any good? How does it compare to the MR300, and is it worth buying? Or should you go ahead and buy the old classic instead? Before we get an answer to all of that, I thought it would be a good idea to talk about the main differences between the tiny Repel and the MR300. The MR300 is driven by butane and lightweight enough to bring hiking at only 185 grams. And that includes butane and pads for 12 hours of protection. And if expecting a lot of mosquitoes, you can always bring additional pads and a spare butane bottle. Pads are 2 grams each and the butane bottle 30 grams. The tiny Repel, on the other hand, isn't only a repeller, but also a lantern and a power bank, a kind of an all-in-one solution. And it is driven by a 4800 mAh battery, and fully charged, the battery is good for 7 hours in camp mode and 10 hours in outdoor mode, and all of this at a very good weight. 152 grams including 2 pads, 33 grams lighter. These are the main differences: butane or electricity, and if you need the additional features, the lantern and the power bank. Now, let's take a look at the specs and the features. Some of you loves the specs and features part, but I will try and keep it short and instead spend a little bit more time in the end talking about my experience using it.
Anyways,
for short, the tiny Repel uses one 4800 mAh battery and charges using a USB-C. It has a slot for 2 pads that lasts for 10 hours. By clicking the Repel button to the left, you activate the camp mode. That gives you 10 feet of protection for 10 hours, and the green light will glow. If clicking the same button again, you enter the outdoor mode. That gives you 30 feet of protection for 7 hours, and the red light will glow. Click again to turn off. It takes a little bit of time to heat up the tiny Repel, and Flextail claims 50 seconds for the camp mode and 2 minutes for the outdoor mode to reach that 165 degrees. I find that to be accurate, as well as the run times. Regarding the pads, they are dedicated pads for Flextail and not the same size as Thermacell. So buy the originals for a good fit and for the equipment to work as good as expected. If you double click the lantern button to the right, you enter the lantern mode. And first at 50 lumens for 50 hours, then 100 lumens for 25 hours, 200 lumens for 13 hours, and finally 400 lumens for 9 hours. Click again to turn off. There's no memory function built into the lantern, so you always need to start at 50 lumens, which is fine. But you need to toggle through each and every mode to turn it off, which can be a little bit annoying. But one good thing, you can use the lantern mode and at the same time use the repellent mode. The size is anyways really small and about 140 millimeters high and 38 millimeter in diameter. And it comes in a nice small box for storage that has room for the tiny Repel, charger cord and repellent mats. Beside the repeller, the lantern and the power bank that we already have covered, it also has a nice carabiner to be able to hang it wherever you like, and a magnetic base. There's also a 1/4 inch thread for being able to attach it to a tripod, and they actually sell one separately if you don't already own one. This is the Flextail tripod, and I will just unfold it so you can see how it looks. Very easy, something like that. And this can be used for both the Tiny Pump 2X together with the included adapter, or the tiny Repel, and it for it to be able to put anywhere in camp and not being forced to find a good branch to hang it. You can of course use the tripod for other things as well, like together with a phone holder to be used as a small selfie stick, a nice to have maybe, but not for everyone, and it adds a little bit of weight. This little thing weighs in at 94 grams. The first thing I can tell you is that it works, because it uses the same active ingredients as most pad type repellers out there, D-Allethrin. But they also added another insecticide, and I need to read this on paper because it's a strange name. It's called meperfluthrin. That causes a knockdown effect, paralysis, and in the end death in concentrated doses, just like D-Allethrin. The reason using 2 ingredients, I don't know, but a good guess would be to work with more type of insects. Flextails say that it repels mosquitoes, flies and midges, and I can only confirm mosquitoes, but for that it works really well. Regarding all of these insecticides, they are of course up for discussion, and some refuses to use them and prefer DEET and some other stuff, and this is of course completely up to you. But what I understand, they are harmless to mammals and only harmful and deadly for insects in higher doses. And these small devices, they don't evaporate the ingredients in such a concentrated form they are to any danger to bees and water-living organisms and such. But I do encourage you to do a little bit of research yourself, and if you find any good materials and facts, please leave a comment and tell us all about it, and a link as a reference for all of us to read. The second thing I can tell you, it's a very nice build quality, and I have no doubt it will last me a very long time. So it works as it should, it repels the mosquitoes, and on top of that, small and lightweight to fit into any pack, to be used as a lantern or a power bank, and with a nice build quality. So what not to like? Now to the question, do you choose the Tiny Repel or the MR300? The question is, do you want one with electricity or butane? Well, electricity is cheaper. So for the cost of using the device in the long run, the Tiny Repel will be the winner. But the choice of repeller should instead be based on how much you're planning to use it. For one charge and for 7 to 10 hours of protection, the Tiny Repel is 33 grams lighter and also doubles as a lantern or a power bank if you need to prioritize your phone or other devices. But if you need more than 10 hours of protection, the thermocell will then be the smarter choice, because bringing some spare pads and an extra butane bottle is much lighter than bringing an extra power bank. The choice of equipment should be based on your needs and your plans for the hike. Is it a short weekend hike? Tiny Repel. Is it a longer hike and mosquitoes are to be expected? MR300. Is it a hike in an area with less mosquitoes but you want to bring something just in case? The Tiny Repel or the Light Repel? Do you want the multiple use of a lantern, a power bank and a repeller? The Tiny Repel. Myself, I always bring the Tiny Pump 2X, and that one already includes a lantern. So I have no need for that feature. But for shorter hikes, maybe 1 or 2 nights, the Tiny Repel is lighter. So if I expect mosquitoes, this will then be my choice of gear for future hikes. And that will save me a little bit of weight. Now, for you who have seen this entire episode, I would like to say thanks, but also give you kind of a bonus. Because if you would like to buy the Tiny Repel or any other products from Flextail, you can just use the code ROBERT15 during checkout and you will gain 15% discount on any of their products. I will also post my affiliate link down in the description, together with links to all of the products shown in this video. But for now, this is it, and thanks so much for watching. And if you liked today's episode, take a look at these recommendations on my other videos. Also do hit like, subscribe and turn on the notifications so you don't miss out on any future content. I hope to see you again next week, but for now, take care, safe hiking and bye bye.